Hello, everyone, and welcome to another round of Ready to Amplify interview series. I'm here today chatting with the founder and CEO of the Mompreneurs, Maria Locker. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you, Leigh. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me on today. I'm excited.
I know we're gonna have so much fun. It's always when we bump into each other, we're always kind of at an event and things are happening and there's all these distractions and people. And so I'm just so thrilled to have you in the room. And we have a lot of people joining us today, I think, too, on live stream. So make sure to be checking comments and post and say hello if you're watching, if you're a mompreneur. And just excited to dive behind the scenes today in amplifying and the process of taking big steps and changing and shifting and growing. And, I think it's important that those watching, if you're not familiar with Maria, as the founder and CEO of Mompreneur, it's a showcase group and its properties, Mompreneur Magazine, the Mompreneur Annual Awards, the annual National Mompreneurs Conference, and they are dedicated to fostering community promotion, education. And what I think is really amazing is they've grown their collective to over 17,000 members and subscribers across Canada, the US, a rich, diverse community of female entrepreneurs. And Maria believes that even the boldest of dreams can be achieved when you have a passion for helping others and doing what you love.
I do.
Oh my goodness. When did you start the Mompreneurs? Just for those watching, I know it's been a journey, right? Are we year 8 or 9?
I guess technically I'm going into the 9th year. So we hit our 8-year anniversary in June. Really, everything started in June 2010 when I moved into a new home. And I don't know, something just happened 2 days later. I was like, honey, I think I need to start a group that just supports women in business. I was having a hard time finding my crew here in town. And I've lived here all my life. I've lived in my hometown forever. So I was having a hard time connecting with women who had a business and had a family and all that good stuff.
Right. Well, sometimes I think that we get so isolated in our roles as moms and as an entrepreneur that it's sometimes hard to find those like-minded people, unless there's a community like yours and, like in the sense and we crave, I think at the end of the day, there's all this technology and all these tools and apps to help us. However, that connection in person is just so important. And I think today we're going to talk a lot about, the collaboration and in-person events that you've been hosting and just the things you've done to reach more people and make a bigger impact and the journey, right? Like, I think it's definitely something where, every time you try something new, you don't know if it's going to work, and we'll dive into that for sure. I think, a good place to start, like, I know that we often end my interviews about, celebration and talking about the journey and really putting yourself out there, right? And in order to toot your own horn, as entrepreneurs, like most of us have grown up sort of learning that it's important, like to not boast and not brag and not talk about ourselves. And yet as entrepreneurs, we have to do the exact opposite. And I know you host an annual awards it's an experience, an awards journey experience where that. What would you call it?
and what we do is we do it every year, and every year I'm astounded. First, I'm astounded by the women that actually do apply, but I'm also blown away by the number of women who are nominated and don't do anything about it. And I feel like this is the first year I've really taken kind of I'm stamping my foot, going, seriously, girls, come on, most years I'm like, you have to go out there. If you don't believe in yourself, who will? I tend to be a very positive person, but this year I'm seeing the same women nominated and the same women not doing anything about it. And I just want to go and knock on their door and be like, you're deserving. You really are. I've heard so many different reasons why women think they shouldn't apply for their own selves or their own businesses, whether they're shy. Honestly, this is one that I get a lot. Awards aren't my thing.
Ooh.
Like, why?
What's that about? Yeah.
So, with you, you're doing Get Ready to Amplify. For me, it's like you need to be in that space as an entrepreneur. You can't hide behind a social media screen. You can't hide behind your products or your, for me, for a little while there when I got sick, I will admit I hid behind my flower because I wasn't my best self and I didn't necessarily want everybody to see me going through everything that I was going through. But
yeah,
you have to be able to step behind your company, step in front of the light, and just own it. And I just sometimes want to shake people and just say, oh my gosh, just do it. You're doing amazing things. There's nothing wrong with people knowing about it.
Oh, I think that's such a huge message that people need to hear. Like if they're sitting on the fence and they're thinking they want to launch, their book or their next event or take that next big step in their career. And I think that we forget that, with visibility comes velocity and momentum. And when you're serving and giving value, and sharing and inspiring others, I mean, it just like it's just a combination of things that you can't hide. Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things I think is interesting, and I've noticed myself doing it from time to time, and I think it's fair, like when you're on a break, like you are kind of behind, like you were taking a dessert, like a break. But when you're like showing up and you're doing business, and I wouldn't call it a break because you were working hard. So, but you know what I mean? It was, yeah. But I want to think about, there's times where I'm like, holy crap, I haven't had my photos done in a year, or holy crap, like it's been 16 months since I did, a Facebook Live or something, and not that long, but like, I think there's times where people are like, not even aware of the fact that they're hiding.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. And it would be really interesting. Yeah, that's a really good point. I like that, because it would be interesting to actually sit down and talk to a few of the women and just, that is one thing we see a lot, actually, when we ask women to tell us even their success story. That's kind of the big thing with our paid members. We say to them, within the first month, if you can get us and we call it a success story. Do you know, Leigh, we have sat as a team and talked about how to change the name of that so it doesn't scare women. And then I finally said, screw that. You know what?
Yes.
Everybody is successful. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing this or what industry you're in or how much money you make. I don't care. You're successful by just doing it. Just tell us your story.
Oh my goodness. It resonates so much with me. And I think that, I've fallen into the trap, and I know many people do, where they identify their self-worth with how their business is doing. So if they're not getting visible and then they're told, share your success story, or you have a bad sales month or a bad revenue month where, the other 11 months have been great, but then you're having this bad, period. It's like you attach your self-worth to it, and I think that sometimes our worthiness I know our worthiness has to come from other things, but what would you say are some of the excuses you're hearing from people not applying, for the awards and not maybe doing the success stories, right? Are they just not seeing the importance of this, or, The
biggest one is I'm too busy. I'm too busy. I'm running my business. I can't even keep up with my orders or my clients or, right?
Yeah,
so I would say that's the number one thing that I hear all the time is I'm just too busy. And I get it, right? Mm-hmm. I said to you earlier, I still feel like Mompreneurs is in startup mode because I still do a lot of the graphics. I still do, like, behind the scenes, you would never know. We're a small team and we get our stuff done. Yeah. I gotta remember not to say much, sorry. Get our stuff done, but I think that's the number one thing. And actually, Arlene Dickinson, when I had my interview with her, said, I used to hear the word "I'm too busy" as a bad thing, right? But at the end of the day, she said, really, we make our own busy. And I have to agree with that. If you are too busy to do the things that matter to you, or you're turning things away because you're too busy with your business, or you're too busy with your family and you can't work on your business, it's got to be an ebb and flow. And I think we make our own busy for real, and we have to own that. So when I see people and I say, yeah, things are crazy busy, but I'm really good, I love it. Yeah. There's a way. If you're not happy about how busy you are, then something's got to change. But yeah, that's probably the number one reason I hear is I'm just too busy. The other things, for the awards or the success story is I don't have an updated headshot. My website's not updated. I don't want people going there. I'm not good with promotion. Like I got really shy. I don't need new clients. I can't keep up with the ones I have. That one blows my mind.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've heard so many things. The biggest one too would be I'm not ready.
Well, and I think it's important that you share these because I think, they are excuses, right? And I think too, like, I think sometimes we are in shifting from startup mode to, that scalable mode, right? And there's a shift that happens where you're like, okay, when you become the bottleneck of your business. And, my favorite book, I don't know if you have a favorite book, I'll let you think about it, but, I know you do, but is the E-Myth Revisited, and where, he talks about the 3 hats we wear, and just really learning the ins and outs and being able to delegate from, being the technician and actually outsourcing that. And, you still can keep on that dreamer hat, but you also have to be the manager, and so there's these roles we play. And, I think it's interesting that, like, I used to associate success or busyness with success.
Right. I think a lot of people do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean the same thing. I mean, I'll go back to when I was on my break, right? So, finished cancer treatments, finished my radiation, and was in remission. And I got the most work done that I've ever gotten done in my life. And I don't know, it taught me a very valuable lesson. I'm still kind of learning from it, I think, but I had only select moments where I felt good enough to do work, and they were my best hours of work because I was dialed in. So just because you're super busy running around like a chicken without your head on doesn't necessarily mean you're doing the right thing, right?
Yeah.
It's focused busyness that I think makes the biggest difference.
This is so huge. I often say the mantra, like, less is more.
Yeah.
And, like, that sums it up, because I think, when you have that dialed in time, like, that's so powerful. I know people are hearing these nuggets, like, they're reinforcing, and, I'm hearing them too. Right. And I think that's so true. I know when my mom was going through, some of her, illness, and she had cancer last year. I had moments where I wanted to spend more time with her, and, I had to kind of be very minimalistic with my business. And it was like, wow, okay, I did get the stuff done that I needed to get done, but, you focus on what's important. And, that's, a very powerful, reminder of that, and just like, that's, success is interesting how we define it, and the fear of success, and, having too many clients is a good problem, but
if you get to that point, there should be a plan in place to kind of grow outside of your own needs. So I always say, I mean, if it wasn't for my team, mompreneurs would be very different now after going through everything that it did, right?
Yeah.
Would it have been able to sustain if I was on my own? Probably not. Like, it's one of those things. You figure out what you need in the moment, and life happens to all of us, whether it's a young child, you get a call from school and you have to go pick them up in the middle of a business meeting. That's happened. Whether it's your mom, like my mom fell at work and broke her kneecap. And so like, there's always something. There's aging parents. And on that note, there's something a lot of mompreneurs don't get to talk about, which is, yes, we talk about family and work, but we're kind of in the sandwich generation too, of having school-age children and having parents who are aging, and taking care of both sides. If you add on that yourself and your business, I mean, how are we supposed to do it all, right? So,
well, and so I think you mentioned a really good thing about not just team, but collaboration, but team first. I think that, when we think about the long term of it, like, we can only last so long on spinning our wheels and being busy. And, so how have you shifted things since you came back from your break? We're just going to call it a break. I don't even know what to call it.
I don't know what to call it either. That's fine.
Yeah, we need a better word. That's, like, so unfair, and I'm sorry I'm laughing, but
I call it now, like, 2 years, really. I feel like I've only just kind of started to come back properly, fully. So it's been a good solid 2 years. Not even a hiatus. I don't know. We'll come up with something, and we'll brand it. We'll come up with something. So my team put in a lot of processes in place. So Sarah, who originally started out as a licensee, became my COO. And I was able to kind of take that brunt off my shoulders and say, okay, Sarah, processes need to be cleaned up. What are we doing wrong? How can we fix it? Tessa came again as a licensee, and I was able to say to her, okay, I need you to focus more on members. What are we missing in connection? I can't do it all myself. Elaine in Vancouver, Grace taking care of all the sponsors and doing a lot of the nonprofit side. Like really, my team is incredible. And I always say, honestly, if you're a solopreneur and you don't have a team or a staff or whatever it is, you can also get that support from fellow women in business, I find. That's probably one of the coolest things I've found within mompreneurs is that there's like these mini tribes within the group that have found each other. I mean, I know with you and Sarah and you've got Christy, right? I would say that's like a little tribe right there. And that's all you need sometimes is just a little backup crew to know that you've got your back covered if you need help.
Huge. Like, I think it's one of those things, I think, when you have to take that break, like I took kind of like a health sabbatical, like a grief sabbatical, if you will, where I just kind of took a step back and slowed things down. And, and then you realize like, what is the stuff you're doing? What's the stuff other people can do? And I think when you want to scale, like you definitely want to, get yourself out of that bottleneck. And I think what's really amazing is that you've reached 16,000 members. Your Twitter parties, like I just have to say, like, shout out for the Twitter parties. They're the best Twitter parties I've ever attended. And you were saying to me earlier that you reached like over 8 million, impressions. Yeah, like that's something huge. So where does that come from? How do you think that I think really speaks to the team and the connections you're making and the way you make people feel part of the community? So what are those pieces of community? And maybe we can tie this into the Twitter party, but like, what is it about community for you, like that keeps people together and showing up and coming back?
It's something we've talked about more recently in terms of our team, because for me, mompreneurs is always heart driven. There is a big heart at the center of our community. We don't go and say that, you all have to be in a power suit in order to be part of this club. Like you don't even have to wear heels. Like it's really an open concept group. And at the heart of it is real connection. That's 100% why I even started it all in the first place. So whether those connections are in person or whether those connections are on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, to me, it doesn't matter. It's getting to know people and getting to kind of come out of your shell a little bit and say like, hey, Leigh, I'm Maria. Like, what do you do? I've seen you all over the place. Women naturally want to talk. Women naturally want to feel a bond. That's just how the majority of us are. And, the Twitter party is something funny just because it brings everybody together. And I find the biggest thing with that is, whether you're in PEI or Vancouver or, here in my hometown, it's at night and you're in your pajamas and it's just fun little things and it goes super fast and it's crazy. But it's fun. And sometimes I think we all get stuck in this idea that, well, if I'm going to something that has to be business related and I have to take it very seriously, go friggin' have some fun. Like, I don't know. Don't get me started.
Actually, Maria, like fun is my word for 2018. Like if I'm not having fun in my business, like I'm throwing it out the window. Like I please talk more about fun, please.
Well, and that's it, right? And it's funny when we approach like new companies who have never come to an event or haven't really gotten to know us yet. And I say, just come to conference. Come to conference in March. You'll totally understand what we're like. And I remember one of the, every year after conference, we do a feedback survey. And one woman had come for the first time. And negative comments are always hard to take. But I remember this comment. It has actually helped me every year building the conference. And the comment was, not what I expected, a little too loosey-goosey with business something. I forget.
Yeah,
but I think she was expecting a typical conference where you sit, you listen, you hand out a business card and you leave. And that is not what we do. That is not what I'm about. And I was like, okay, I know now that's not my kind of people that I want to attract to the conference, right? Because I like to have fun. I want to have music playing. If someone wants to go on stage and dance in the middle of 2 sets, thank the Lord someone else wants to infuse fun. I love Cheryl.
I love that. Yeah, that's Cheryl, one of our viewers. Yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness. Well, and speaking of those events, I think, something I've learned like in writing my book and reaching out to people and getting them involved and reading it and giving reviews like yourself and reaching out to Amber Mack was a big ask for me and kind of scary. Like I thought, who am I, to ask? And so I'm curious, like you've put some really big names on your stages at your events, and how did that start? Because like for me, like it took practice, like the more I asked, the easier it became. And so do you find you're intimidated? Like who's been maybe the most intimidating person you asked at first? And then it was like, oh, they're just human and normal, or probably, I don't know.
I still get nervous meeting with the majority of the people that I do meet. It doesn't actually seem to matter who it is. I do get nervous, but the ask, I think Erica M was one of the first people I ever asked back when I first started Mompreneurs, and Arlene Dickinson. And I don't know what I was like, if I go back and think about what the conversation was in my head, I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm bold. I'm not aggressive.
Yeah.
That's just not in my nature, but I naturally reach out to people who I think could help the people that I love and know. And so I guess I go about it a different way. I remember when I first reached out to Erica, I was really nervous, and she emailed back and just said, yeah, cool, send me whatever you want. And that was, 8 years ago, and Mompreneurs was really nothing at that point. I had like one small little showcase. So maybe that kind of, I could say maybe that kind of spurred me along to say, what's the worst that's going to happen if I ask, right? She didn't know me. I had never met her. Mompreneurs wasn't anything at that point, and she said yes. So
yes,
yeah, I don't really think too long about it, I think, is the other thing. I do not, maybe it's bad in some ways, but I try not to overthink. When I do that, it slows down my email responses. It slows down things getting done. And you can tell, if you've been with Mompreneurs for a while, you'll be able to tell when I've overthought or I'm not quite sure. It slows everything down, and momentum is lost, just like you said, right? So yeah, I think if you can be brave enough to ask and be willing to accept a no, you can hopefully be happily surprised that someone might say yes.
I love that. And I a bit of echo pop out. Sorry, guys. It comes in and out. But what I wanted to ask you, like, because I think what's really interesting is, we talk about our day, right? So how do you structure, is there, a way, like for me, I started doing like these business building days where just like I didn't book my clients or sales calls, or it was just more like, how can I work on my business days? And I think that was one of the game changers for me in shifting my business, was actually dedicating time to do the awards applications or to do, the big asks and stuff. So how do you structure kind of like your day-to-day? And I'm so curious. I mean, you're accomplishing a lot of things. So you don't overthink it, but what else are you doing?
So it all kind of stems, I work day to day, and I try to make Mondays my get blogs published, do some draft modes. Like Monday's kind of my like get stuff done day. That's my GSD day, but I'll call it stuff. So Monday is that, but really at the beginning of everything, it all stems from actually working project to project. So if I know that, and I don't know how this really came about, but if I know that, for example, the awards end on Sunday, this week is full-blown awards. I'm not looking at the magazine. I'm not looking at conference. Don't talk to me about other events. This is what I'm working on. And for me, it's like a hyper focus. If I know I've got something coming up, I can't look at anything else until I feel confident in how much work I've done with that particular project. So this particular week, yesterday was sending out between myself and my assistant, we sent out over 200 award nominations.
Oh, wow.
Within an hour and a half, and it was crazy. She was sending all the ones that came in through the website, and I was sending all the ones that people had posted on social media. Please nominate so-and-so so that they don't have to do that form.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. And so we'll see how many of the women nominated will apply. But
yeah,
that was yesterday. Today I'm chatting with you, and I'm actually I'm taking kind of a break this afternoon. I'm going to help. This is Christmas season with my family's business too. So I try to go and I help at the bakery. So you might see me at my family business. I'm usually stuck at cash.
Yeah.
Awkward when a member sees me and it's like,
I love it.
I try to get done whatever I can get done to make it happen. So my biggest thing is, no matter what you do, if you're building out a schedule, always look at the blocks where you know you don't want to have give. So I'm not looking at my company before 9 a.m. and I try to shut off at 4 p.m. And for me, that's 9 a.m. is kind of the golden rule. 4 p.m. I'm a little bit more flexible. The kids want to come home from school and jump on their devices, but 9 a.m. is strict for me. I don't book calls. I don't leave early for meetings unless I absolutely have to. So if you can build your schedule around those times where you do not want any give, it gives you a lot more clarity.
Yeah. And clarity, I think, is also like a huge thing with what you do. Like your mission has always, I mean, you mentioned earlier, like things have shifted in how you do things and the different offers and opportunities, but your mission has always been to empower and inspire and connect female entrepreneurs and mompreneurs. And, and I think that's that clarity piece is something we don't talk a lot about. And it's kind of a buzzword sometimes when you use it so much, but I think that when you have that clarity, other people have clarity, like it just forms that connection instantly. And that's, a very, very powerful thing. So I'm going to loop back to the awards because I know we just have a couple minutes. We started about 2 minutes after, so I'm going to do 2 more minutes. And I want to ask you, if someone was like thinking, oh, why would I nominate myself? Like, who nominates themselves for this type of award? Like in the sense of like, what are you looking for in a nomination? It's closed already or is closing this week? Or can you tell me a little bit more about like why someone would apply? And so, there's lots of excuses, but who are you looking for?
So it's applications and nominations are open until Sunday, which is December 2nd until midnight, our time. Toronto time, Eastern time. So we're looking for women who are passionate about their business and who are ready to stand behind it. So on the one hand, yes, I tell people if you're not ready, just go and do it anyways. But if that happens and you're pushed forward, we had a member last year, very shy, ended up on TV. She made it to the finals, ended up going and doing a segment on TV and texted me about 10 minutes before saying, I think I'm going to throw up. But she did it. And I feel like, I watched women meet their goals if they actually push themselves towards doing them. So we're looking for women who, doesn't matter if you're a product-based or service-based. We have a separate category as well for direct marketing businesses. So a lot of times we hear women, well, there's lots of Arbonne or there's lots of Stella & Daughter, whatever it is. Just, you'd be amazed at how varied the selection is in terms of who actually applies. So I think right now, we're aiming for about 200 that will be released on Sunday. The voting starts on Monday, and that's the other part. We have women that will apply and then say, you know what, I've decided to pull out because I don't want to ask for votes. I'm not pulling you out. Just you're going to stay there. You don't ask for votes. It's an argument that comes up every year. People don't want to ask for votes. You know what? You finally pushed the button, you applied, and now you don't want to tell people that you've applied? No.
Yes.
So, my goal is just to get people to realize that they have to do this for themselves and they can't wait for other people to do it for them. So there's nomination. So if you've already been in the awards or you feel like it's not your time, go and nominate someone else. That's my other message. If it's not your time and you don't like that I'm pushing you, go and nominate someone else and I'll push them. That's fine. I love it. or just go and apply for yourself. Do not wait for someone to nominate you.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And I think that it's a great reminder and a great way to wrap up today's interview. We've shared the link is themompreneur.com/award for more information there. And, I think that we could talk for hours just about your journey. And I just love that, we were so organic today, but I just took away like so many nuggets and aha moments of just like how you do business. And I think that it's a very powerful thing for everyone listening. Like, if you are watching on replay, to put in the comments, like #replay. And we were sharing this with a lot of people. Whoops, I'm getting all excited. But I wanted to thank you. And also, part of this whole Ready to Amplify is, just to announce my book.
Yeah.
So we have Ready to Amplify, Tribe, Visibility, Impact. A lot of what we talked about, community, visibility today, and impact at the end of the day, those connections and those shifts and stepping into a bigger spotlight. And this book is a 7-day pocket guide to doing that in a way that feels good, that's authentic, where you develop your own systems to connect and nurture your relationships. And I want people to think about, if you're ready to step into that, bigger spotlight, you got to get more visible. This is a pocket guide. You can find it at leifowler.com/book. And, it's a journey. And even myself too, like, I think at the beginning of this interview series this month, I was like, buy my book. You got to really like set the intention and put it out there. And I think that you're right. Like, the more you ask and the more you step into pushing yourself, the easier it becomes. But you can actually, like, when you set those goals, you can actually achieve them once you commit.
Yes. Yeah. And I think sometimes just putting those words out there, and that's why, like with the awards or, with your book, right? Maybe we should talk about how next year we get that book in people's hands before the awards, so they're ready to amplify by the time the awards come.
There you go. That's all. Yeah.
That's all it is, right? You just sometimes have to say it out loud, and then it's kind of like, well, crap, I said it. Now I got to do it, right? So can I just give you a plug? I love your book. Your book is really good. So keep it. Really, I loved reading it, and I think you're on to something pretty awesome. So I'm really excited for you.
Thank you so much. It's meant to, like when I inspire others and help them step up and share their magic with the world and reach more people. I think when they find their voice and they have a system that they can call their own, and break down all those excuses and barriers and all those things, like it comes down to just good old fashioned relationship basics. And thank you for that plug. I really appreciate it. It takes, it takes a village, and it really does. So and being part of Mompreneurs, for me, it was just, I was away for a little while in sort of my process and grieving and stepping away, but coming back and going to the events has been just so nurturing for me. And I just really love what you're doing with the Mompreneurs. I think everyone should check them out and consider, attending the events, attending the membership, checking it out, because you got to nurture your soul and your business. And this is an excellent way to do so. Lots of love. Thanks everyone for watching. Talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye for now.